So I think I wanted to maybe read one more before my voice gives out. I still have not figured it out. Um, I kind of, it's fine. I still haven't quite figured out how to speak in a way that doesn't make my voice inevitably end up giving out. But okay. Um, let's see. So I think that this one was the other one I think I'm gonna read. This is a New York Post article. They're some of the funniest, honestly. Like some of my favorite, like right-wing reactionary type of shit. Like to read, I love it. Like I don't know. So I am curious. We'll see what they have to say about China. So this is Don't Buy the Green China Hype. Here's Beijing's Real Energy Agenda by Bjorn Lomberg. Sounds a little German. Ooh, I can already tell by the paragraph structure of this that this is going to be a fun article. Let me see how long it is real quick. That's not too bad. Okay. Many in the West gaze in awe at China's apparent dominance in green energy. China is becoming a green superpower, read a BBC headline last month. China's green triumph, trumpeted the New York Times. China is indeed churning out solar panels. Oh, this is not a quote this time. China is indeed churning out solar panels, wind turbines, electric vehicles, and batteries that flood global markets, proof advocates say of an inevitable green transition. Yet these supposed marvels are forged amid overwhelming and surging use of fossil fuels, particularly coal. Uh-oh. They're building green energy with coal, everybody. Oh no. Its real energy achievements, dramatic energy ramp ups to fuel prosperity and advances in nuclear power, remain overlooked. In 2025, as the world invested 2.3 trillion in green energy, more than a third of that investment, $800 billion dollars, came from China, nearly matching the US and the EU combined. But spending isn't the best measure of investment quality. After China's real estate bubble went bust in 2020, it was busted. Capital flowed into the solar panel industry, and the sudden influx created vast overproduction and overcapacity. Just an FYI, everybody loves to talk about China's housing, like real estate bubbles, their various, like, market manipulations and stuff or whatever. Always take all of that with a grain of salt. Usually, what's happening is they're just reading it from an American capitalist perspective, as opposed to like a state capitalist perspective, like China, who, like, for instance, will build an entire city out without anybody even coming to live there yet or whatever. Uh, and then like subsidizing a bunch of shit so that like people then come and live in the city, and then it's like the property values change in like a certain direction that is abnormal in the realm of capitalism but is not abnormal in the realm of like state capitalism like China. So it's usually just a misunderstanding of how their economy works as compared to ours. So um, let's see. Chinese solar production capacity is now more than twice the global market, and every segment of its solar supply chain suffered losses in 2024, with margins often at minus 20% or lower, according to the International Energy Agency. Yeah, they often take a loss initially on their in order to get complete dominance over the market. It's something that, maybe America should try sometime. More than 40, but that involves not making a profit. So America is not never going to do that, which is why they will never be able to compete with China. More than 40 companies have gone bankrupt, and the industry has slashed a third of its workforce. Crucially, China's solar panel production depends on coal. Every one of its silicon smelters requires its own coal-fired power station. This is just classic. This is classic, like or like yelling about how green energy it actually needs coal to be able to, make like produce the stuff necessary for it or whatever, which is just in general a silly argument. Um, like obviously to create more efficient things, you have to start with the less efficient things. Like that's just the way, I don't know, like really just like general human history and technology has worked. Like you don't use like I don't know, like you build your way up on previous technology until you finally get to the newer technology. So that's just kind of like a silly argument to me. Um, Investment is now pouring into electric cars, and as automaking becomes an economic pillar for local governments once reliant on land sales and real estate taxes, the auto industry and related services now account for 1/10 of China's GDP. Damn, 10%? Man, BYD is crushing it. I would love to have a BYD uh, car over here. Unfortunately, we have like 100% tariffs on them, so I'll probably never see one. Overcapacity is staggering. Only 15 of China's current 129 EV brands will be viable by 2030, according to one estimate. Okay, this is exactly what I just said. Their goals are different than a capitalist goals. Like they're not they're trying to corner and dominate the market, and like that's what they're doing. And so and this idea of viability only makes sense in a capitalist like framework. If you are not a capitalist country, then like their goal the goals of the state outweigh the goals of the companies themselves. So like this is just a silly thing. And overcapacity is something that we've heard for like ever. Oh yeah, EVs. We're talking about EV here. um, China wants to minimize its dependence on imported oil, so its consumers buy nearly two-thirds of all EVs sold globally, pushed by Beijing and lured by rock-bottom prices due to surplus production. Yet EV battery packs are manufactured using coal energy, blah blah blah, and charged on coal. Yeah, okay. Of course, no shit. Nor do EVs themselves help with air pollution. One study found they reduced nitrogen oxide. Like, I really don't even understand what this is for. Like, I think we're kind of the we're almost I think past the age of like hysteria against green energy. I feel like, and primarily I think it is because China has just proven that it's like a viable industry, even as America tries to like destroy it or whatever. And so like maybe there's still some America like chud brain people who like get an aneurysm whenever they hear the term EV, but like I think that realistically now it's like people just see it as an alternative form of energy even in America. And like most people do see it as like the future of energy, but it's not something I think that like they're like people just aren't like zealots about it anymore if I had to guess. So I don't really know who this article is for, to be honest, but apparently it's for me, as I hate read it. While China added unprecedented solar and wind capacity in 2025, it also planned an unprecedented number of new coal power plants. China remains the world's top coal consumer, with fossil fuels supplying over 87% of its primary energy. Renewable share was 40% in 1971 when China was poor, but plummeted to yeah as they industrialized, and has risen slowly over the next 13 years to just over 10% in 2024. On this trajectory, a full transition to green energy would take 4 centuries. And like I don't even think people are talking about full transitions. Like they're just, let's get those numbers up. It's always good to get those numbers. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I think that my headset must have ran out of batteries or something. Um, on this trajectory, a full transition to green energy would take 4 centuries. Hey, we'll see. We'll see in 4 centuries. So while the vision of China as a renewable superpower is mostly eco-propaganda, eco-propaganda. Wow. I wonder what like billionaire is funding that propaganda effort. We should heed 2 lessons from Beijing's energy policies. First, China has dramatically scaled up energy use and has grown rich in the process. Yep. I mean, they have. Their ability to produce energy is unrivaled across the world. America could only ever dream of being able to create energy at the rates that China has. The West, especially Europe, should abandon its self-imposed energy restrictions and follow suit. See, that's where they're a little bit wrong. Yes, China uses a lot of coal and has used a lot of coal in order to scale up a lot of their green energy stuff. And yes, China does use its green energy as a form of like propaganda or as a form of like making their country look better or whatever. Like that's just something all countries do. Um, but I think that they're kind of ignoring the real thing that's happening is China was behind the West technologically and when it came to energy before. They built up to be further along the process than the West, and now they're starting to build up their green energy to the same level, if not higher in some cases. To hope, and I think that they're just thinking of it more in terms of like efficiency or whatever, as opposed to some like, good versus evil battle between the good coal versus the evil electric or whatever. Like, I think they're just seeing them as two sides of the same coin that, and they're thinking, oh, well, I think green energy might be a little bit more efficient, so we'll try and get as much of that. And yes, it'll help the environment as they also have guidelines for what they're trying to reach in terms of their environment as well. Um, so I think we're really just kind of falling behind at this point. I think that's the thing that's making them a little bit butthurt as well. So what they say is the West, especially Europe, should abandon its self-imposed energy restrictions and follow suit. You can't. You can't. You're not going to be capable of it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news to the West. It seems like I have to do this a lot. You're not going to be able to catch up to China, and there's one reason. There is just one reason that you will never be able to catch up to China. China is a state capitalist country, and all of the West, including Europe, are all just capitalist countries. The capitalist countries are incapable of making plans in the same way that China does and following through with them in the same way that China does. Everyone in the West can only think in terms of quarters, in terms of profitability. China doesn't, and that's why they're able, they even say it here, and has grown rich in the process. That is why they are able to do these things. That is why they are able to outcompete us, and that is why they have surpassed us in a lot of these things, especially like energy production, both coal and green. Um, so this is not going to be possible unless America and these Western countries become state capitalist countries like China, and that's never going to happen. I'm sorry. I mean, maybe someday. I hope so. Honestly, it's the transitional period into socialism is what state capitalism is. So I'm all for getting there, and I don't know. Maybe in my lifetime we'll see it, but who knows? Right now we certainly aren't. Consider fracking. Heavily restricted or banned across Europe and in many U.S. states, it has helped boost Chinese shale gas output by roughly 20% a year since 2017, putting China on track to become the world's third largest gas producer and making it more resilient than other Asian economies amid price spikes from the Iran war. Yeah, this is also like they're complaining about the West's inability to produce things and then blaming it on like I don't know, like Code Pink or like some like eco feminist like people or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they it's really just the West is not able to compete with China, but they're trying to find a scapegoat for why that's the case. And it's not because a bunch of, you know, long-haired hippies went out there and protested like an oil pipeline or something. Like that's not what's stopping America from being able to compete with China. It is straight up just because America is incapable of doing it under its mode of production that it currently operates under. Second, sorry, give me one sec. Uh, Second, China is surging ahead in technologies that could truly decarbonize the planet at scale. Nuclear fission and fusion, they all got boners for that. I don't know why. Um, I don't know why they think that's so much different than like green energy. It really makes literally no sense to me. Why these people who hate green energy with a passion, like these coal people, are so obsessed with like nuclear fusion, which is essentially just solar energy, but at like the micro level or whatever, or like and or I guess fission would be that. But um, in the West, traditional nuclear has grown prohibitively expensive, with U.S. construction costs tripling since the mid 1980s. That's capitalism, baby. The U.S. has built only three new nuclear plants this century at enormous cost and with 11-year timelines. That's capitalism, baby. Contrast this with China, where reactors are completed in 5 years and costs have halved since 2000. That's state capitalism, baby. China has expanded from 3 reactors in 2000 to 60 today, with 37 under construction, nearly half the global total, 42 planned and 146 proposed. Yeah, China just has a more efficient system of government. Like, you're not able to compete with that. I'm sorry. Nothing you can do will change that unless you actually turn America into a state capitalist country. Fourth generation reactors, often small and modular, are designed for efficiency, affordability, minimal long lived radioactive waste, and inherent safety. And China leads the United States in this technology by an estimated 10 to 15 years. That'll just keep growing. The world's first such reactor began operating in China over 2 years ago, and China is deploying all six of the fourth generation reactor types. On fusion, China dominates patents and has allocated more resources than all other countries. This isn't renewable redux, it's a race for abundant energy. And the West risks awakening to a world powered by Beijing's reactors, not its own ingenuity. Green China is a sham, but it's time for the West to emulate Beijing's real playbook by ramping up energy use and investing in nuclear R&D. Good luck, the West. I do not have faith. Change your mode of production, get rid of capitalism, and then maybe you'll have a chance. Okay, let's see here. I'm done with that.